Cool. So Dan Morasci, thank you so much for coming on.
Yeah, man, thanks for having me.
Obviously, I got your information, got in touch with you through Anthony James.
Yeah,
He's a great guy. I started working with him. I'm on his team now since July, but I went to high school with I'm a few years older than his wife, but I went to
okay.
high school with his wife and her brother. And also, I don't know if you know who Joy Marl is.
I
She's also an
I know
agent. Yeah.
Joy. I watched a little bit of your episode with Joy and a little bit of the Anthony episode. So yeah.
Cool, cool.
So I have an audio podcast that I do as well. So I'm pretty familiar with all the setup, but see like
Yeah, yeah.
my setup's over there.
Nice.
I couldn't get my internet in my office is bad, so I have to be hardwired. So I had to like I was like, I'll just do
Uh,
this.
That's cool. Either way, I really appreciate you coming on and taking the time and just, taking the time out of your day. I know you're a busy man. I know you got a lot going on, especially with your own podcast. How often are you doing that?
We shoot for 3 a month. Um,
Right?
so like, you know, they come in waves.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously, scheduling around other people's schedules can be a little bit of a challenge. We try and record ours on Monday afternoons, and then we push them out live Wednesday or Thursdays.
Nice.
So, but
And then,
we do very minimal video. We just do video on, like on a phone, and then we just shorten it down for B-roll for social media stuff.
oh, yeah, that's cool.
Yeah.
Uh, have you heard Opus Clip?
Yeah. So we were trying Opus Clip. So I do it with, do you know Kaylee Cornell? She's with EXP. She was a title rep for a long time with Fidelity. She was awesome. Um,
I know of her name, but I've never actually met
yeah. So she's my co-host. And I kind of passed that on there. So,
her. Nice.
she's been going back and forth, but we end up with a huge file. Like we just did an hour and 20-minute interview. And I mean, the file was like 27 gigs. So it's like
Man.
trying to get it figured out, like how to get it off your phone. That's been, that's like our biggest challenge right now. And it's so stupid. Like it's a tech challenge. And it's like, well, if we would invest in a camera with a, HD and all that, but I'm like, man, we're not trying to spend thousands of dollars on this thing.
No, especially since our phones, like the camera quality, everything is
Oh,
I mean,
so
top
good.
notch.
Yeah.
Yeah, it like doesn't make sense to
Yeah.
invest more. I actually invested in like a camera with, HD or 4K and
Yeah.
used it once. I use like I have like a Logitech 4K one, but like I actually
Yeah.
bought like a nice,
Yeah.
was it mirrorless, whatever they call it. But yeah, I ended up selling it on Facebook Market because I never use it.
Yeah. So,
So
I mean, well, that's kind of like where we were at on ours. Like, I'm like, people are like, oh, you should do video. And I'm like, well, like I consume a lot of podcasts, but it's always in my car. I mean, I'm kind of like, I kind of somewhat similar to a realtor's life. I spend most of my time in the car going from one place to the next. So like, and I get kind of bothered now. Like some of the podcasts I listen to, like will reference video stuff. And I'm like, well, it's a podcast, like TV show, or
that's
like
a good
that. So
point.
but they obviously have their space because they're very popular as well. So
Yeah.
I think I'm
I've,
just getting too old and gray. I'm actually just avoiding avoid the video stuff altogether.
well, I mean, it's kind of one of those things that like because uh YouTube has their own like podcasting tab now, so
Yeah,
now it's like it's free, so that's why I
yeah.
started with trying to do just audio and ended up just going to the video like
Oh,
right away just because I don't know if you've heard there's this app called Descript
hmm
and I use it and it's amazing. Like it does all the editing for me and it's like makes it super easy.
all your
So
video stuff too.
yeah, yeah, it's all AI too.
Yep,
So like you
yep.
can, edit it like a
We use Buzzsprout, and
oh yeah, yeah,
it does essentially the same thing. I haven't looked and see if Buzzsprout has a video component or not.
got it.
But
Yeah,
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 so that's what we use.
for sure. Yeah. So yeah, it's
Gives
just
you the
personal
summaries,
preference.
everything. It's
Yeah,
pretty
yeah,
much.
yeah. That's awesome. So what's your podcast name again? I'm sorry.
It's called Open the Gate.
From the Gate. Awesome. Well, I can also push that on here, throw up, your handles or whatever,
Yeah,
when
for
I
sure.
publish it.
For sure. Well, I can just email you all the information for that.
Yeah, that'd be
Oh,
great. So let's just start off maybe introducing yourself and tell me why you're here, and we'll just kind of roll into the questions if you don't mind.
So I'm Dan Morasci. I'm a partner at Finley Home Services. We do home and termite inspections, general pest control, and we're also licensed general contractors. So we were kind of born of the real estate industry in 2014. So we just celebrated our 10-year anniversary. Um, and we started out just doing termite inspections, WDO inspections, and general pest control. And then obviously, like with kind of where the market's at, we just had so much demand for home inspection, so we expanded into home inspection as well. So now we really cover as much as we possibly can in the real estate space, and then also in the the business to consumer space with the general pest control.
Very cool. So, man, was that like a hard transition to get into the actual home inspection, or was that like pretty easy?
Honestly, Zach did it before I came. I came on board in January of 2020. So right before COVID, Zach and I came to an agreement for me to buy in as a partner. And a couple weeks later, we're having conversations about laying ourselves off and to try and do everything we can to salvage the company. I'm like, hold on, I just scratched a check to be a part of this thing. We're gonna lay myself off. So,
For real.
but I mean, obviously, we've always been super, super active and obviously supportive in the real estate space. We understand how important that is to our business. So it's so funny. Like I remember I did I did a Facebook post like the day, minutes after I heard that real estate became an essential service. And I think to this day, I mean, it's like the most popular social media thing I've ever done. I mean, comments and likes and shares. And it was just like, holy cow, like, because it was almost like the entire industry had like that sigh of relief. And I was like, all right, let's get to work. And then it was like, we got to work and it's like masks and booties and gloves and just all the red tape. But, it was crazy because, we had kind of decided right off the bat, like, we were absolutely going to lean into it and not shy away. We were going to, whatever the rules were, whatever the regulations were going to be. We just knew that for our business, it's way too important. We couldn't turn our backs on the real estate industry at that point, no matter. So it was great. I mean, it was actually went from one of the most nerve wracking kind of concerning periods of my life to just hair on fire, trying to figure out how to get enough people to fill the demand. So it was pretty
That's
cool.
so cool. Yeah. I was doing some research on you and your company, and I saw you guys got a huge staff. I mean, there's a picture right on your guys' website. Like, it's a ton of people. You guys,
Yeah,
how
we've
how
got,
many employees?
we're just shy of 30 employees. So,
It's pretty big.
we have, let's see, we've got like four or five people in the office that accommodate, inbound phone calls and emails. We have 5 termite inspectors, 4 home inspectors, and then our reconstruction repair crew usually teeters between like 15 and to 10, down to 10 guys, depending on the workload and the demand. Right now, they're all mad because they're out working in the rain, but
Yeah,
we
we're gonna
got
have
work to do. So that's a good
exactly,
problem to have.
exactly. Yeah, I know. That's the only bad part. I mean, I think we're gonna have it for like a week or something like that,
Oh,
but
so much rain these next couple.
we need it though. But at
We
the same
do, we
time,
do.
yeah, I don't feel bad for everybody out there working because I'm sitting here in my office also at home.
Right.
So it's like, yeah, I definitely cannot complain.
Yeah, I notice everyone, they kind of hang out and talk a little longer than normal when they pop by the office, on crappy days.
Yeah, I would too. It's awesome. So it sounds like you guys are kind of like a big family. You guys are pretty close and like everybody, as far as
Yeah, like, I mean, we really, really push the culture around here. I mean, it's something that's really, really important to Zach and I, and everyone. I mean, just having that work environment where people are happy to come in and, everyone's kind of working in the same direction, same common goal. We brought in a business coach about 3 years ago. So we follow the
oh, cool.
the EOS model, which is entrepreneurial operating systems.
Okay.
Um, which is interesting because like I'm a very regimented, like schedule oriented guy, and Zach, my partner, is he's a little more artistic in his time management. So,
I see.
but this provides us. We meet our leadership team meets once a week, and we've really just developed a structure with goals that really just give us direction. And it's like as long as we hit those, as long as we make those meetings, it's almost impossible to miss our goals. It focuses so much on predicting your business and forecasting, and those are things that I've just always really enjoyed doing. So yeah, so that really helps keep us focused, and it focuses on like a 90-day business world. So basically, every 3 months is just a new section of business, and you look back a little bit. Hopefully, you celebrate a little bit, and then you just shift your focus forward again. So it's a really nice cycle.
Like that.
It gives us a really nice way to stay focused.
That's pretty cool. Now, how did you guys come about that? Was that something you guys were looking into, or someone just kind of turned you on to that?
So yeah, so we had pretty rapid growth during the COVID, that 2020, 2021, and stuff was just kind of too many things were kind of falling through the cracks, and we just kind of saw stuff was moving too fast. And coupled with that, I mean, the real estate process has gotten so fast. I mean, I've been doing this for 15 years. And I
Hmm.
mean, it used to be like everything was a 45-day cycle. It was so easy.
Sure.
You had a month and a half to get anything
Yeah.
done to close a deal. Now
Yeah.
you're seeing like deals get done 10, 17 days. So I've always, the last few years I've been harping on this. It's like one of the key components of the real estate purchase and transaction are those inspections. And like, that's always going to be an analog process. Like we always have to put boots on the ground and physically do that part of the transaction. There's no rocket mortgage version. There's no push button, get inspection. Like, so it's really interesting because now when we saw like those super, one of the first things that gets shortened to make an offer, more competitive is that inspection contingency. And we're like, hey, dude, it's the middle of August. I've only got 9 total inspectors in the 2 divisions. Like, we can only do so much.
Sure.
And when on the flip side of that, like we worked so hard to build the relationships, and we want to make sure that our clients and our realtor partners know that like we're here for them, you know? So it's always kind of that balancing act.
That's a good point. I mean, like, it's huge though. It's probably in a sense has like saved you guys, like, because like you're saying things slip through the cracks. Like I got my license just before, like, in June of 19. So
Okay.
the same situation. Like I
Yeah.
had no idea what I was getting into. Like, and I work for the state also, so like
Gotcha.
I was about to have a baby, and so I wanted to do something additional, bring in some extra income. And it was always been like, a goal of mine to like, I've always been interested in real estate. Anyway, long story short, I was just like, this is crazy. Like anybody can sell a house. Like, you know what I mean? Like leads coming everywhere, all that kind of stuff. But now where this is like what it's actually supposed to be like, you know what I mean? So now
Yeah.
it's kind of like,
Well, we're in
but
a hard
I could
cycle right
only,
now, like we
sure.
really are. I mean, interest rates and affordability, prices are, they're making things challenging. I look at some of these purchase prices and some of the houses, I'm like, holy cow, like that's just wild, like
Right.
what affordability and done. My wife and I purchased our house that we live in right now in November of 19. So I mean, right
Like
before everything. And it's like the amount of equity is just, it's absurd.
us too. I went, so I got ours. I'm here in Carmichael, and we bought in May of 2020, and then
Oh,
we were shelter in place and selling my place, like my first transaction, selling my house and buying this one, and it was like there's no way we would ever go out in this house had it been any other situation,
right.
because COVID and something fell out, and like
Yeah.
these sellers were leaving the state,
Yep.
and so it was like, and
Yep.
then like you said, the equity, we got to refinance like 6 months later, do a cash pull out, like,
Oh yeah.
and lower interest rate. It was like it was pretty cool. So
Yeah.
like, you know and he kind of explains it as like the golden handcuffs. Like we're all in kind of that situation where these we're not going to see these interest rates for a very long time, or those interest rates for a very long time. And so it just doesn't make sense to move up or move anywhere
Yeah.
with these. Like why would you essentially want to double your mortgage payment
Yep.
based off these interest rates? So a lot of people. I'm just glad that we love our house. We're in love with our house and still in love with our house and still pinching ourselves to this day. So
Right.
I'm grateful in this sense, but I know that some people were kind of got in because they could, and like now they're kind of just, they don't, it's either
And
that's this or nothing,
I think that plays into a lot of it too, though. It's a different space. So if you need or want to be buying a house in this space, you can't. It's not fair to yourself to try and reference that situation in 2020 and 2021. You know, you do. I mean, that is the clamp, I think, that's really holding a lot of the industry back right now. I mean, dude, I got under a 3% interest rate on my house. Like, I have no. I mean, unless need based, unless something requires us to sell our house, there's no way.
Sure.
And that's holding back a lot of inventory, I think.
Hmm.
Which I don't know. I think pricing might have to give a little bit here, at least through the winter, and then you'll probably see. I mean, you don't really see very many, if any, springs where prices recede. So
That's a good point. Yeah, it's kind of and also bringing sellers back down to, I don't know if it's reality or just they still think going off Zestimates or like what we're still in 2020 and those prices, and like that the house is worth this much, and it's like it's not, it's what buyers are willing to pay for it, and right
for
now
sure,
they're not going to pay for that same price. You're not going to get multiple offers,
and I
like.
think that's really going to be where the conversation shifts to over these next few months. The realization that nothing's worth um, anything unless someone's willing to pay for it. Um, I mean, obviously for the realtors, I mean, even the negotiable commission structure. I mean, obviously in Sacramento, if you really drill down in it, like the new NAR settlement just basically made things the way they were. You just have to have more conversations. So as long as those conversations happen, the right way, everyone will be understanding, and it should be business as usual. But
Good
the
point.
narrative obviously creates a lot of side conversations. So,
That's for sure. That's for sure.
but I would say
uh
as realtors, I mean, you guys love having those conversations, anyways, right? If someone's willing to
100%.
talk about real estate, let's do it.
Yeah. The other good point was like, with the settlement, the basically having before the settlement, like having sign-in sheets with open houses. So I have like a listing right now in Rockland, like um talking to Anthony, and just like, I've always never felt comfortable trying to get people to sign in because, they're just kind of turned off. And well, now we have something to lean into with the actual sign in form because of the settlement, and we have something to talk about. And I had a ton of groups in 2 days, and every single one of them was willing to sign in without question. So it was pretty
How
cool.
many Jennings 8675309s are you getting? I'm getting a lot of those
I
right now.
I got one, something like that. Is basically scribble, and then like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. But
Yeah.
for the most part, yeah, they turned out pretty truthfully. But so that was
Yeah.
good.
Yeah, I think transparency is a big deal, and especially for consumers. I mean, you think about these buyers are buying at the top of the market and paying interest rates that we hadn't seen for a long time. So, in fairness to them, I think it's important to be respectful of that. And buyers haven't had much leverage for the last 10 years in real estate.
That's a good point. Very good point. Man, I don't even know what that was like. I mean, because I didn't have buy a house back then. So yeah, it's gonna be a fun thing as a real estate agent to actually experience it when it actually turns into a buyer's market. So looking forward to
That'll be
that.
interesting. That'll be
Yeah,
interesting.
yeah. So let's get into the questions if you don't mind.
Absolutely. Let's roll.
Cool, cool. So, Finley Home Services works closely with real estate agents. So, how do you support agents during transactions? Especially in the critical phases of home inspections and pest control,
Yeah, so
pest
kind of like we
inspections.
talked about. I mean, a lot of our internal communication within the organization is that urgency, and also that thoroughness, right? We want to make sure that we're going out and doing a really good job. There's just so many layers to what's important. The ability to show up on time, to respond professionally, to respond at all. One of the biggest things that we hear is people will reach out to me and be like, I've got this inspection. It was done a week ago. We haven't seen a report. We haven't heard anything. We can't get a hold of the inspector. And it's like, I mean, that's scary. Like I said, we talked about, I mean, transactions have gotten so fast, like that information delivery is super important. And then on top of that, I mean, I'm like, for me, I'm kind of I'm the outward facing piece of our business. So I'm super involved with Sacramento Association, Placer County Association of Realtors, El Dorado County Association of Realtors. So, I mean, I'm constantly out in front of them, supporting, whether that be through committee contribution, committee activity, um, educational training. We do a lot of trainings on termite and home inspection for newer agents, refresher courses for agents. As we don't see, I mean, our rules and regulations do not change a whole lot. We're governed by the ag department in the state of California. So I don't know how much more red tape they can put out there.
That's good and bad, I guess.
Yeah. Well, it's nice that it doesn't change constantly. I mean, like you guys with with the purchase agreement and all that stuff. I mean, it's just every 6 months you guys have something new to study and new to learn, or some new nuances or whatever. So we don't necessarily get as much as fast and as often as you guys.
Definitely. Yeah. I mean, being the face, you said, of your company, you're dealing with that all the time. So I can only imagine everything that you are with the training and just being on top of everything and making sure everybody, I know, like the red tape, I can only imagine. I don't even want to get into that. The red tape that you guys have to do. Yeah. I could only imagine.
Yeah, I mean that's that's our job. So just
Sure.
like you guys have with yours, it's just part of the deal. So
For sure. So, um, what common issues do you encounter during termite or home inspections that have the potential to delay or derail, real estate transactions, and how do you help mitigate these challenges?
it's a it's a really broad question, because I mean we can go super granular. I mean, stuff like further inspection findings on reports can be massively imperative. I don't know. They can slow down. They can put a lot of weight on a transaction. Um, Something like, I mean, as simple as like, because a further inspection can range from a garage that's full of boxes that we couldn't see to like a water stain that we don't understand why it's there. And getting into the root cause of those things can be time consuming, or it can be simple, right? Like, hey, tell the homeowner they need to get these boxes out of the garage, or you've got a water stain underneath your $100,000 concrete deck, that we need to cut a hole in your stucco to find out, how much damage or where the damage is being caused and all this. So it's like different versions of Pandora's box. I think that's always a big one. I'm a huge proponent. I try and encourage agents all the time. I go, the most important box on that termite report is the further inspection box. I go, it's not the 6th page or whatever where we list all the prices for everything that they're going to go to negotiate with the seller. That further inspection is a huge, huge, huge piece, massively important, because you don't want to think you're at the finish line and go, oh gosh, I can't get a clearance because I have this further inspection that I didn't notice. We had one this morning. We had a property that we inspected that had wood boring beetles and also subterranean termites. Well, the treatment for those two things is different. One's fumigation and one's a liquid soil treatment. The agent and the seller didn't realize that. And, so we deliver the report. We try and communicate that as well as possible. But now the agent was like, well, we need a clearance today. And we're like, well, you can't have a clearance because we didn't treat the subterranean termites. We only did the fumigation. So that's just one of those things where it's like, okay, like more communication or more training or better understanding. Sometimes companies will sit there and point the finger and go, oh, well, that's your fault. That's your fault. Well, I don't care whose fault it is ultimately. Like, we just need to figure out what the plan is. And then going forward, okay, well, this is where the problem came from, because of this communication. So, I think those are some big ones. In the spring and summertime, time constraints, heat, going up in attics in the summertime is miserable. But going on roofs in weather like we have out there today is also super dangerous. So,
Sure.
just the caveats and the things that limit inspectability. Those are probably some of the bigger challenges that we see that kind of impede or can have an effect on the actual process.
So kind of go on a little tangent for someone, let's say like a first time buyer or even a first time seller, like,
Mhm.
can you kind of break down what the pest inspection report is,
Yeah. So
like
your
what
pest.
section
So
1 and 2 are?
so here's the deal. So calling it a pest inspection, I'm gonna coach you up, Kevin. So
Perfect.
call it a
Thank you.
WDO inspection. It's gonna be way more self-explanatory. So here's one of the problems that we run into. People are like, oh, I had a pest inspection. They buy their house. They move in 6 months later. They call us. They're like, oh my god, there's ants everywhere. Nobody said anything about ants on this pest report. So there's a difference between wood destroying organism and common pest, right? So WDO, wood destroying organism, it actually covers fungus, dry rot, wood boring beetles, carpenter ants, termites, anything that will destroy the wood members of your home, which in California, the vast majority of the houses are built with wood. Um, so you have a breakdown. You have section 1, section 2, and section 3 findings. A lot of your FHA and your VA loans will have requirements for a section 1 clearance. A section 1 clearance is section 1 findings are wood destroying organisms, which could be termites, which could be dry rot. They're an actual WDO is present, that component of the home. Okay. A section 2 finding is a conducive condition. So that's something that if left unremedied can or will eventually become a section 1 finding, right? It's either going to turn into dry rot,
Sure.
or it's going to provide a source for a WDO to become a section 1 item. Okay. So, termites don't need a whole lot. They need wood, they need water, and they need, you know, and that's about it. So if the moisture source is provided, then they're going to have, all the components that they need. And then section 3, that's the one we talked about a little earlier. That's the one where a lot of people overlook that I think, in my opinion, is the most dangerous. It's that further inspection. So getting those questions answered is huge. Another thing I think for first time home buyers, I'm always amazed. And again, I've been doing this for 15 years, but it's amazing to me how much more apprehensive or even scared first time home buyers are with termites as opposed to dry rot. And I'll tell you right now, I mean, we do a lot more business fixing dry rot than we do, eradicating termites. And the hard part is, dry rot's a tough one because unless you remedy it, it's not going to stop. And, the exterior wood members of your home are exposed to the elements year round. So it's a homeowner maintenance thing more than anything else. But it's also one of those last things you forget about. I mean, would you rather redo your bathroom or, fix your siding?
Yeah.
Aesthetically, and when you're living in it, you probably would rather have a nicer bathroom. But then when it comes time to sell, whoever's buying your house probably doesn't want that deteriorated siding. So then you're going to have to kind of deal with it then. So, it's like my dad said when I got my first car, he's like, maintenance is cheaper than repairs. Your brakes get squeaky, get on it. Don't grind them down to the rotors, and it's going to cost you a lot more money. And, when you're a kid, you learn that lesson the hard way. And I think,
Of course.
hopefully I would advise, first time home buyers and homeowners in general, inspections every couple of years are really not a bad idea, because homeowner maintenance can save you a lot of money in the long run by staying on top of it.
There's so many things that they can't even see, like with their eye, that, like, that you guys look for, that you guys know exactly where to look, and like you have tools to, like,
Well,
be able to detect
a lot of the
things.
stuff comes on so slow. It's just it's such a slow developing thing that you walk past it, and it's, you just kind of go blind to it because you don't see, it's like your niece or nephew you haven't seen in a few months, and they hit a growth spurt, and you see it because you haven't seen them for a while. But if you see them every day, you would never notice the growth spurt.
Good point. And you guys find that.
We know where to look.
Yeah, exactly. So, many real estate agents recommend home sellers to do pre-listing inspections. What are the advantages of addressing potential issues before a home goes on the market? You kind of went into a little bit, but maybe a
Yeah.
bit more
So,
detail.
I mean, the big advantages that we see are obviously, kind of upfront disclosure, um, finding finding the stuff that's readily available and easily accessible. Our market being so close to the San Francisco Bay Area, they've kind of always done it. The pre-listings down there, so there've always been disclosures. Someone writes an offer, they immediately send over the inspection reports and all that. Where here it's kind of been like, well, we're not doing inspections. The buyer's going to do inspections on their own once they get into contract. So there's absolutely some advantages for sellers, I think, to kind of insulate their sale price. Minimize things that can cost them money coming up within the transaction. Less pieces to negotiate on. At the same time, oftentimes, one of the biggest challenges for us with the pre-listing inspections, and obviously we don't shy away from it, but if that house is still being lived in, which most of the time it is on a pre-listing inspection, you see less. There's more furniture, there's more, they have pictures on the walls that are covering up. So you just see less of the home. Storage becomes an issue. A lot of people store a lot of stuff in their attics and in their garages. And, you see some people even store stuff in their crawl space. So just accessibility is probably the biggest challenge on the pre-sale inspections. And then what happens too on pre-sale inspections is, every brokerage in the country has a disclaimer about buyers getting their own inspections. So now you basically already know that you're going to have another inspector coming behind you. And, they're going to want to make sure that they validate their time out there and try and find something. So they might dig in a little harder, or the buyer might have been in their ear. Hey, we're stretching our budget a little too, and we need some things to negotiate on. Can you make sure you find every? And I think in the spirit of inspections, we're obviously trying to do a great job on identify major problems. But it's like recently we've seen so many people that have gone behind us and they're just digging into things, making a mountain out of a molehill almost, essentially, and it's like, hold on a second, guys. It's not the spirit of what we're doing here for the transaction. So in regard to pre-list inspections, yeah, we love them. We think they're a massively beneficial component. And ultimately, if you really step back and look at it, for the people who buy those homes, to have it inspected by two different companies and, essentially 4 people or three different people, that's a lot of eyeballs on the property. The more of that you have, the more confident they can feel in that purchase. And again, when you tie that back to top end sales price, high interest rates, the amount of stress that goes into these decisions, you should almost feel even that much more better about having that many more eyes and that many more inspections performed on the property.
Good point. A lot of times can also everything depends on the situation, but if you are, if you do the pre-listing inspections and then you as a buyer sometimes can be like, hey, we're trying to save money and it, like the house looks clean, the report, your guys' report came back clean. Like we can usually use your report instead of paying additional. And then also you can do those negotiations up front instead of getting, into the transaction. And then all of a sudden you're negotiating. And for whatever reason, it falls out because, they don't want to pay for something or something doesn't want to get fixed or, so then they have, that's their opportunity as buyers to, not relieve the contingency and be able to pull out and get their deposit back. So
the one thing I would warn on that is make sure, most of us will have on our home inspection contracts, we'll have an agreement where it's between the two parties and it's a non-transferable document. So if financial decisions are made on behalf of a document that we provided to somebody else, they're not going to have recourse based on those findings. And I would say the other thing with pre-listing inspections is, as the listing agent, if you're pushing that, make sure you have that conversation that, hey, there's a really, really good chance that there's going to be another inspector who comes in here behind them. I trust my guys. They're tenured, whatever. You obviously have a relationship with who you're referring. But let them know, hey, there is always a chance somebody else is going to see something a little different. And there could be other things that come up. And when that happens, it's like, okay, you get both guys out there and say, okay, what's really going on here? I think that's always been the biggest thing for us, is obviously transparency. And, we're all human. So it's not like I'm not going to sit here and tell you my guys have never missed anything. So
no, when that does happen and you guys, they do end up talking, like, does it usually get worked out to where it's like, yeah, you know what, I maybe didn't see that, but you are right. Like after you guys,
case by case,
sure.
like I said, sometimes there's some things that we've had to dig in and we're like, no, absolutely not. Like
Sure.
we don't agree with you in this, and we're looking at it right now, and we're telling you and your client right here that we still don't agree. So, um, for the most part, I mean, you obviously we're not trying to leave a buyer in this ambiguous state, like where they're like, oh, what's going on then, you know? And sometimes sometimes it's a referral to a specific trade, you know, because home inspectors are really just generalists, right? Like
Yeah.
they're going to measure if something's working right. And if it's not working right, they're going to refer it. If the windows aren't sliding open right, or the windows seem to be leaking air, we're going to refer that to a window guy. If the
Sure.
HVAC, isn't producing enough, we're going to refer that to HVAC. So it is it's a general idea. To go through and fine tooth comb every component of the home, one would take a long time and two would cost a fortune. So,
That's a good point.
yeah.
And you guys aren't like allowed to like actually like move stuff, right? Like you're just
Yeah, so
supposed to inspect it as
you
is.
really, really are not supposed to. Reason being, I mean, it's not our stuff to move. And essentially, especially if we're out there representing the buyer, it ain't their stuff yet either. They haven't bought the house yet either. So,
That's a good point.
moving stuff is kind of a no-no. We really, it's like we don't want to have to further inspect something because something needs to be moved. So usually finding someone who has permission or authority to move it is the best way to do it. Because again, the clock's always ticking. Like these transactions don't seem to be getting longer. We know realtors don't like asking for extensions. So
That's for sure. Nobody does. That's for sure. Everybody wants it now, you know?
yeah, absolutely.
Based on your experience of changing real estate trends in Sacramento impacted the types of service homeowners or buyers need the most.
Yeah, I mean the speed of completion, the report delivery. I wish we could inspect it today and have the report for you yesterday, but unfortunately, that's not the case. You know, being prepared is huge. Those pre-listing inspections do really alleviate kind of a lot of stress. Because again, you're getting a lot more information up front than you would have had a pre-list inspection not been done. The flip side of that, and one of the challenges that we're dealing with in our industry is like, so think about it now, like we're doing way more pre-listing inspections than we've ever done before. And the buyer inspections haven't really slowed down either. So you're actually seeing more inspections, more demand on the inspection industry, which, when COVID hit, I mean, we saw a lot of people tuck tail and get out of the industry altogether. So it was like you had a shrinking pool of inspectors and a growing demand for inspection. So it was kind of it was a tough spot for us. It put a lot of pressure on our side of the industry.
That's, yeah, I didn't even think about that. Yeah, like people probably went running thinking that, like, you know,
Yeah,
before they,
a lot of inspectors have been doing it for a long time, and it was like, well, that was just the final the straw that broke the camel's back, right? They're like, "Hey, we can retire now. Like this, we're
yeah,
not dealing with this."
yeah,
Because I
yeah,
mean, in the heat of the battle, I mean, early COVID, I mean, when everybody's
scary.
working from home, kids are doing school at home, and all the stress of all that, and then we're walking in like all masked up, a stranger, like to essentially like tell them everything wrong with their house. So it was a pretty
Man,
undesirable situation to be in. It was definitely high stress on our guys as well. The world's telling you to stay away from each other, and we're trying to go, check out.
yeah,
Or we see houses with nobody in them. We're like, hey, everyone get out for a few hours. We're gonna go through this thing. During that time, there was no telling them to get out. They were doing their school and work and all that stuff. So we're working on that as well.
that's yeah, that's funny too. Didn't think about that. The same thing happened because we were like, um, one day scheduled from closing on a place in because we were living like in Southside. And anyway, they at that time people could buy you could pull out on either side for any if it has anything to do with COVID.
Oh
So like
yeah.
they lost. So one of the sellers lost their job. But when they were already kind of being weird about the whole inspections and stuff, and so I had to meet the inspectors there and like they were there and they were like, it was so awkward just having them go in there and like they like, you could just tell nobody wanted to be there. I was just like, man, this sucks.
Yeah,
And then
I
on top
mean,
of that, the stress of,
yeah, it
pandemic.
was and early on, I mean, there was legitimate fear. I think everyone was kind of feeling. So, everyone kind of went about approaching it their own way. I mean, I live in Placer County. Placer County was pretty was
Locked down.
no, I mean they pushed through to try and get open faster than anybody else. So
They did.
I mean we were
Okay.
pushing hard to get our kids back in school and all that. So
Yeah,
but again, you wanted to be respectful of contrary opinions, I guess. So,
point. So, how can services like pest control, pest inspections, construction repairs increase properties' market value or curb appeal before listing?
yeah, I mean the curb appeal thing obviously is aesthetically pleasing up front. Nobody wants to walk up to a house that's got a bunch of visible dry rot or anything going on. So, but I think more importantly, what it really boils down to being able to provide that clearance and having someone stamp approval, whether that be us or one of our competitors. Basically getting someone on the hook, I guess, is probably the best way to explain it. Say, hey, you put your stamp approval on this thing. We're trusting you're going forward and closing on it. It's more that peace of mind thing. And obviously, kind of like I touched on, I mean, the maintenance is cheaper than repair thing. I've kind of always looked at it like when somebody buys a house, like they're not trying to buy the previous owner's problems. Like we want that house to be in good standing and not have these fixable issues for the next person in line to have to deal with.
That's a good point.
I
As
mean,
much as
our pest control service, I think pest control provides value because again, you've got someone out there kind of looking around the exterior of your house, seeing it with enough time between visits where as things develop, they can notice those. Um, Obviously for us, because we're a three-pronged approach, it's a nice opportunity for our pest control guys to be able to refer things over to our home inspectors or our termite inspectors. If our pest control guys see what they think is dry rot, they can pass our information along to that homeowner and say, hey, you might want to give one of my guys a call. They'll come out and identify that, and we can give you a bid to repair it if you're looking to have that done. And that's completely outside of the real estate transaction, right? That's just going
yeah,
back to homeowner maintenance.
yeah.
So yeah,
But that's huge to be able to have that. Uh, not a lot of companies are out there that can do all that you guys do,
yeah.
but
There's
have it
really,
all
there's
under
really,
one roof.
there's three or four that kind of touch all the bases that we do. So we compete directly with three or four other companies,
That's not many. I
line
mean,
for line.
compared to
No,
how many are out there.
we do offer a fairly broad variety of services for sure.
That really helps. I mean, not just on the maintenance part, but as someone that is either a buyer or a seller, just being able to go to the same company to do it all.
For
I'm
sure.
sure
Yeah.
you probably have some type of deal packages also if you do everything with you guys. So
Yeah,
that'll save
absolutely. I
everybody money
mean,
in the end too.
full disclosure, I mean, for our pest control division, essentially our termite and home inspection clients who pay us to provide a service, they become leads for our pest control division. So it's like, instead of buying leads, we've got people paying us to be leads down the road. So, and hopefully, if it's a service that they want and we earn and we do a good job, they'll trust us through that, then we'll earn that business. It's not necessarily, it's not a bait and switch or anything like that, but
Sure.
it's a really interesting lead source for us.
Yeah, that's a good point. I like that. Very cool. So how often do buyers back out of deals based on the findings of your inspections? And what advice would you give to buyers navigating inspection reports?
So I can't answer how often they back out just because we don't have access to that kind of information. We go out, we provide the inspection, we offer repair services for the WDO, or refer it from the home inspection. So I don't really know. Every now and then we'll deal with repairs that are being billed through escrow and it falls out and it makes it, and then our job is done. We paid our guys, we bought the material and we're waiting on the check, but the home's no longer even on the market. So that's a tough one for us. I would say it's not super common that they fall out. at that late in the game. I mean, obviously the inspection contingencies being pretty early, which is one of the biggest outs for buyers. We try and approach it, I mean, we've run into very few things that are not fixable. So if a buyer loves a house enough and it's the home that they want, if it's got some blemishes or whatever, I mean, as long as the repair cost still makes it justifiable to purchase that property, then move along. We do a lot of business based on just that. Sometimes the repair ticket is makes the house unaffordable. But I mean, that's more just general sales stuff like we were talking about earlier. I mean, for you guys as realtors, you know, if your commission structure makes a home too expensive for a buyer, then they either probably need to find another realtor who's willing to come down on their commission structure, because ultimately it's the ultimate cost of the home. And, you guys are providing a service as well and need to be paid for that. And you do a lot of work behind the scenes that doesn't get noticed or recognized, to justify that compensation.
Yeah.
So it's very similar to that. I think when you remove the emotion of it and just say, hey, is it worth it or not? That's really the ultimate question that we like to ask, and we get it. If it's not worth it, hey, we totally get it. Let's go find another house,
From my experience as a realtor, like I do, like 9 times out of 10, they're making an offer on that house because that's the one. They love that house. They can see themselves living in that house. That's why they have made that offer, and they're under contract because that's, they want to continue, actually close on that property. So, with things that do come up, and even when it comes down to the negotiations, the repair or the credit for something that came up on the reports, it just ultimately comes down to, like, is it worth, like, losing this property, like the house that you are really into,
Right.
over a few $1,000s, like, in
Right.
the grand scheme of things, is it
Right.
really worth it? And then at the end of the day, they kind of think about it and they're like, it's not, like, let's move forward, or, so in my experience, it usually, I haven't really had any, or heard of anybody really backing out unless it's like a huge thing
Yeah,
that
I mean,
wasn't disclosed or
you start getting
something,
into 5 figures. I mean, people are thinking pretty hard about it for sure.
Yeah, that's, yeah, good point. That's a lot to consider.
10 grand's a lot of money.
No doubt. And anybody. Um, so, so investors often see properties with potential issues as opportunities. So how does Finley Home Services assist real estate investors in addressing these risks?
Yeah, we work with a lot of investors. As a matter of fact, we probably have 8 to 10 that we work with on a regular basis, multiple times a month. Um, it's an inspection is an inspection, right? Findings are findings. You either find them or you don't. They're either there or they're not. Um, Investors like to play a little more aggressively, right? Because they're really looking to use our information to benefit their deal, right? To ultimately net them more money at the end of the day. So, um, but we still have to kind of somewhere in the middle. I mean, we can't make things up. We can't say things are there that aren't there, and we can't, we're not going to overstate them, because at the end of the day, there's probably a consumer on the other side of that, on the other side of that coin. So it's important to us to obviously approach everything with, the honesty and the integrity. At the end of the day, we want to be able to look ourselves in the mirror and say, hey, we're still good people. We're doing a good job. So, I would say, from our side, I mean, obviously with investors, we pretty much know if we find termites, we're going to get the termite treatment or the fumigation. Outside of that, there's a handful of them that we do a lot of the repair work with as well. But that's because we've earned that through reputation, through being able to hit their demands from a timing standpoint. A lot of times, I mean, investors, they need to get those things turned around so fast, because there's an amount of money associated with every day that they own that property before they get it sold. So, in the peak of the spring and summertime, when the general contractors are out, doing bathroom remodels and stuff like that, and they're getting hammered on by an investor for the cheapest rate they can possibly do, they're like, the contractor's like, it's not even worth it. So where sometimes they're like with us, they're like, hey, like, we understand, like, your guys' rates are your rates, and we have to charge what we have to charge. Like, we carry overhead. We own our building. We have 30 employees. We have people in the office that answer phones that need to be paid. We buy the material up front, we pay our labor and all that. So if there's the understanding and the mutual agreement and respect for each other's business, that almost doesn't even become a talking point. But I mean, I make no secret, like we have a hard time competing with handyman pricing, and especially like the handyman that are doing more than they're supposed to. A handyman's really only supposed to do a job up to $500. That's labor and material included. So I mean,
Mm,
you know, if you're charging $50 an hour, and you got $100 worth of material, that's a 1 day job, for $500.
yeah.
So we run into a handful of, handymen that are going above and beyond that are doing bigger stuff and whatever. Like we understand that, like that's not who we're trying to compete with, because we have to make a profit at the end of the day as well.
Yeah. The investors just know that they can
Yeah, I
count
mean,
on you
just but
guys.
like I said, I mean, we work really, really hard to kind of understand everyone's angle in this business. And, at the end of the day, we come back to, did we do the right thing here? And for us, the right thing is doing a thorough inspection, delivering the information, in a rapidly and professionally.
That goes a long way. That's what's going to keep you guys in business for a long time and keep the clients coming back. Oh, you guys know that you guys are doing a good job at the end of the day, and you can, you know, go home at night knowing that you guys are a quality company and you're not trying to cut corners or try to do anything shady or under the table. So,
Yeah, I mean,
uh,
that's one of the top line, pieces of conversation at all of our leadership meetings, and we try and echo that throughout the organization. We'd rather be making money for the next 10 years than make a lot of money, in the next 10 years.
yeah, it totally shows just by having this conversation with you. You guys are one of those companies for sure. It's
Appreciate
awesome.
that.
Yeah, no doubt. What specific pests or structural challenges are most common in Sacramento homes, and how do these influence real estate decisions?
Yeah, so Sacramento's got pretty notorious hot summers, and for the most part, I mean, gosh, the last couple of years, pretty wet winters as well. Um, we get a lot of our weather comes from the south, so we know going in, the southern exposure of a lot of homes in the Sacramento area is probably going to be a little more beat up than the other sides of the house. So I mean, speaking specifically to that, I mean, those are just kind of things that you learn over time. Um, you know, the different areas. I mean, you can go up in Serrano, you got a lot of houses with big concrete decks. You can go into Cameron Park, you got a lot of houses with big wraparound decks. Same thing up in Auburn. Decks are always a challenge, right? Because we have very specific rules and regulations that we have to follow regarding decks and safety. And, if a deck were to not be at a certain area of a home, does it provide a danger? And that requires that'll provide the requirement of if we can remove it from a report or not. So like if a deck wasn't there and someone were to walk out of a door and could reasonably be injured,
Yeah,
then that deck has to be there, which means we basically have to have that deck on the report, which, that's a giant wood structure that's completely exposed. And, oftentimes unless it's brand new, it's going to have some findings on it. Um, but given that situation, we try and have as much communication as possible around that. And, if we need to get creative and, oftentimes we've had a client that's buying a house with a huge deck, but the deck's just thrashed and it's going to be $100,000 to repair the deck. Right. And they're like, we don't have 100K to do this. By the way, if we're going to spend that kind of money, we want to customize this deck. So we go, okay, cool. Well, let's just build you a landing and we'll run that down. It'll be kind of a short-term fix. It covers you. It gets you out of spending all that money, at this moment in time, but it also provides us the ability to give you a legal and reasonable solution to a short-term situation.
like that.
Um, and other times we've had clients that say, hey, like, we just don't like the shape of this deck. So let's look at retooling that. And, so we say, okay, well, cool. If you don't need this done within the transaction, let's put that on the back burner and handle it after the deal is done. Because right until that title changes hands, until the escrow closes, like that buyer doesn't own that house. So to be making cosmetic changes like that could really affect if got, heaven forbid something happened and that deal fall out of contract. And now these sellers are going, oh, great, here I'm stuck with this.
Yeah.
So communication's a huge, huge component to all that stuff. But we really try not to skirt around it. Like we want to make sure that, obviously we're covering our backsides, from a legal standpoint. But at the end of the day, I mean, the people buying and selling the house are the ones who have the ultimate say in that house.
Yeah, for sure. Man, yeah, that would suck to have to put in. You're like, yeah, I just want to change it, and then all of a sudden, it doesn't go through. And then are they the ones? The buyers are the ones that we're trying to pay, or are going to end up paying for that, right? Without even owning the house, or does it still end up being
Yeah, I
the
mean,
sellers?
it just
Depends
depends.
on
I
them.
mean,
Yeah,
that's all part of the
yeah,
negotiation. I
for
mean,
sure. Think about that. Yeah.
I mean, even
Um,
like for us, I mean, we have a work authorization contract for every job that we do. We can't go out and do work on a home without the homeowner's permission. So it's like, we tell agents all the time, we're like, hey, make sure you don't sign that. Don't sign that for them because that's your liability. That's you signing off on that bill saying, yeah, we authorize this work to be done. Well, it's not your house either. Just like the buyer can't sign for it. Like the seller's going to sign for it. It's their property.
sure. Yeah.
You'd be
How many?
amazed how often we see this.
I was about to say, have you seen that? Quite. That's nice. I mean, people are just setting themselves up for failure on that one. That's
too
not
often.
good.
Too often. Yeah.
So, you see the role of home inspections evolving in real estate transactions over the next 5 to 10 years, particularly with advancements in technology or changes in buyer expectation.
Yeah, I think the advancements in technology will be the biggest impact on us. I don't see, I mean, I kind of alluded to it earlier. I mean, I don't see AI ever replacing a home inspection. I see our tools getting a little more technical. Well, I mean, we use moisture meter and stuff, but I mean, the amount of solar inspections and just various technical components of whole new technology stuff. Constantly evolving, just trying to stay on top of that stuff. Where at the same time, going down to East Sac and inspecting a home that's 100 years old with knob and tube electrical underneath it. So it's just a growing spectrum, I guess. And like I alluded to earlier, I mean, the technological advances of, the speed in lending, the speed in title, the speed in insurance, all these other components of the real estate transaction that have gotten so much faster, and technology has allowed them to get faster. Like we're kind of at a ceiling where technology is not going to allow us to get much faster unless we really restructure the way we do these things, which, would ultimately end up costing the consumer more money. I mean,
Good point.
that would ultimately be the answer. I mean, the only way we can get faster would be to bring on more bandwidth. If we bring on more bandwidth, we have to charge more because we got to provide a livable, income for our
Yeah.
guys. And so, probably another story for another day. That's a deep, dark rabbit hole.
Yeah. No, but I definitely am agree that it in general is not gonna hopefully replace a lot of jobs. It's just gonna help make things more efficient, help your guys'
Yeah.
jobs do a lot of just
Yep.
reporting, or just
Yep.
some of the tools they're using. Even same thing with, as real estate agents, there's a lot of, and I feel like it's not going away. You might as well embrace it,
It's
be able
not
to
going
pivot,
away.
lean into it,
It's gonna
so
get better.
totally.
There's a lot of loophole or not, well, areas of concern with reliance on AI. Um, you know, I e- e- Even if we are looking at, like, we see a lot of inspection companies that utilize drones and crawl bots and things like that to inspect. I'm
Hmm.
still a firm believer that, tangibly inspecting things, putting your hands on things is always going to be um, way, way, way more pertinent or powerful or impactful than a drone. I use the example. I mean, I backed into more things with a backup camera than I ever did before I didn't have a backup camera on my vehicle. Like, kind of embarrassing to admit, but it's like, because something about that video screen, you don't seem to look as closely as you would if it were your actual eyes. When you turn your head around and look over your shoulder, and actually physically see things. There's something about that screen that I think changes the way that you see things.
Yeah, especially in your guys' field, like just being able to have your own eyes there and being able to
Mhm.
like, I mean, there's just it. Yeah, I don't care if it's 12K. You know what I mean? Like
Mhm.
yeah,
Yeah,
it's got to
exactly.
be make all the difference
Yep.
to be
That
able to.
tangibility is a massively important component to our business, and it always will be.
Yeah, that should never change. I mean, it's cool to have those tools to be able to if you can't reach something or if it's like impossible,
Yeah,
but like,
exactly. As kind of a, an extension to not, I don't want to say a last ditch effort, but I mean that, okay, like we're going to try this, but hey, by the way, just so you know, I mean, our confidence level is not nearly as high in this tool as it is an actual inspector.
but it's better than not being able to get up to that
Exactly.
spot that we would be able
Exactly.
to get to.
Yeah.
So yeah,
It's
yeah,
better than nothing.
yeah, exactly. Well, that's cool. Well, shoot, man, I really appreciate it. Is there anything else you want to talk about, or did we forget anything? Or
I think you hit everything, man. I mean, we've exhausted the inspection process. Hopefully people
yeah,
enjoy it, man. I mean,
no,
I know it's not always the funnest topic to talk about, but I do feel I've always felt like we do represent a massive importance in the transaction. And if you're buying a house, make sure ask a lot of questions. Though I think that's a big thing too. Like for if people that are watching or listening to this, my advice is ask a lot of questions. It might be, the inspector might not love to have to answer all the questions, but you're paying for that service. And it's ultimately your purchase. If that helps you get to the place where you feel more confident about your purchase, that's ultimately what we're there for. So write your questions down and make sure you get them answered before you make any decisions.
you're paying for it. You deserve to
That's it.
ask whatever
Absolutely.
you want.
Yep, for sure.
And I really appreciate you coming on here. You provided so much value. Honestly, like you're the first one that have, it's been other real estate professionals, but no inspectors. So this is
Well, thanks,
awesome.
man.
And you've been, there's a lot of things that as first time buyers and sellers that people have no idea what, even section 1 and 2
For
and 3
sure,
are.
for sure.
So, just to be able to clarify all that stuff, I'm sure it's
And
gonna help a
we
lot of
try and
people.
really make ourselves available as a resource. We really don't try to step on toes of relationships. We understand, like, we really value our relationships that we have with our clients and our referral source realtors. Um, but we always want to be available to answer questions and help things out. If you want a second set of eyes, take a look at something. I mean, I always try and make myself as available as possible to help answer questions, because again, it's a big purchase. It's a big purchase for these people. And, ultimately confidence in that purchase is paramount.
I'm gonna put your information and how to get contact you and all that kind of stuff. If you want me to put your social media handles on there, I can too. That
Oh,
way
yeah, I'll
people
send you all
can
that
reach
stuff.
out and
I'll send you all
be
that
able
stuff
to
for sure.
hopefully get you guys on board for their next purchase or sale.
That was good, man. Love it.